Hey, I'm Will LaVeist. He's Eric Claville. You tune into LaVeist and Claville, where we give it to you straight the way it is, from a black male's perspective, because it's like that, and that's the way it is. So we're going to get right to it. We have hit the end of the first season of LaVeist and Claville, but unlike the late, great godfather of soul, James Brown, who had hit it and quit, we're going to hit it, but we're not going to quit. This is just the first season of what we hope to be many, many more seasons, but it's been absolutely delightful grinding this out, figuring this out, and something that Claville and I have talked about doing for several years. I think we talked about that in the beginning, how I had a radio show, you were on my radio show, the Will LaVeist Show, which aired out of Hampton, and then you got your own show, been doing your own things. We have both been blessed to be on Another View with Barbara Ham Lee, who's on public radio down in Norfolk, and to be guests on that show as part of the round table. Shout out to Barbara and Lisa Godley. Always, we love them. And so we always talked about, this is an opportunity to collaborate and to continue to chop it up. And so that's a big reason why we got into doing this anyway, because we thought that we had something valuable to say, valuable to offer. And so the times when we were on radio, the audiences have been telling us that. So we said, well, why not see what we'd be able to pull together? Why not be like Wu-Tang? You can have your own show and then come together and collaborate. Collaborate too.
Well, I can't believe that it's been one full season of LaVeist and Claville. And, I want to thank you for approaching me with the idea. We as you stated, you were so gracious to ask me to come on to the Will LaVeist Show. Matter of fact, I don't even know how we met or became friends, but it seemed like we've known each other forever.
Absolutely. Brothers from the segregated South and the segregated North.
That's right. It's one of those things where when you meet certain people, it was meant to be. With that, whether it's building a company, whether it's building personal relationships, whether it's building what we're doing, building this show. And this was something that you said, hey, we could bring our two minds together, what we both do very well, it complement each other, and really talk to the public and give the people something that's missing
right.
From the talk world. And you're exactly right. Our voices, they're just not our voices. We represent generations that have poured into us.
Right.
We represent experiences that we've had, and many of our colleagues and many Black males have had, but their voices are missing, and we're just there to help fill the void. And through the mechanism of technology, this great mechanism of podcasts and also radio, we've been able to do that. So it's been very fortunate. And listen, you mentioned our dear sister, Barbara Ham Lee, on Another View,
Absolutely.
who's been holding it down in Hampton Roads in Norfolk, Virginia. She's heard, of course, on the WHRO, WHRV public radio affiliate there across the street from ODU, Old Dominion University. But you can stream
my alma mater. I got my doctorate. That's right.
Absolutely. You can stream her show on anotherviewradio.org. But also, her very capable and Emmy award winning. They just won another Emmy, by the way.
That's right.
So, to them who actually brought us on, I remember 2014 was the first time I was on her show. And I think we probably met doing a show at the round table. I'm not sure about where it is.
Yeah, that probably was it. I mean, man, time just flies, because I hear 2014. It seems like yesterday, but it sounds like yesteryear. 2014 as we're down 2021, looking at 2022. But Yeah, I mean, I think again, as you talk about voices, and a lot of the feedback that we would often get is that, with both of us being, doctors or having doctorates in our respective fields, one of the things that we've both share in common is this desire to still be uh, brothers in terms of being able to communicate in a way that can reach the ivory tower or reach, the corner on the street corner. Because one of the things that you and I know is that wisdom, life experiences, joy, pain, intelligence exists in both arenas.
That's right.
Oftentimes, we get caught up in these letters after our names, or we get caught up in what people call us and become pretentious about things. And you and I both have personalities, but never really being, pretentious people, with being still people of the people. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the kind of conversations that go on in barbershops or that go on,
Absolutely,
in churches, during the, during the fellowship hours and different things like that, or just go on across the dinner tables. And, what you find is that a lot of brothers who have gone to school, educated, we've both gone to HBCUs, a lot of the learning that really happened, quite frankly, happened in the dorm room. A lot of chopping it up with each other and learning from each other from our different places, different experiences, whether it be from Africa or other places of the world, or whether it be from other cities. So I think that's the kind of tone that we've tried to bring to it, is that same experience. These are, we're educated brothers, but we still very much brothers, and who understand that, like I said, that wisdom, that street knowledge, and that kind of brilliance, it exists in the neighborhoods. It exists across the board. I mean, I often think of my father, who had only an 8th grade education, but was one of the wisest and brightest and most brilliant men that I know. My late father, man, and I know that you just celebrated, your dad, man. You all were able to get together and celebrate. And, I know the kind of impact that he's had, on you with that level of wisdom and keeping you grounded. So I think that's something we've tried to bring to what to the streaming platform.
Yeah. Will, I'll go back to your initial comment. It's our desire to stay connected.
Right.
I think about that verse where the Apostle Paul says, you have to be all things to all men, right? So it doesn't mean to be a jack of all trades. You got to specialize in something. But what it means is you got to be relatable.
Right.
You have to be relatable without being offensive, but also hold your line of your standards and your beliefs. We can do that, and I think that's an aspect, Will, that I think that's missing from today's conversations. We want to, people are offensive, holding their line, but not respecting of other person's views. You can agree to disagree, and I think that's missing. And you and I have agreed to disagree,
and we disagree. Right? but to your point, it doesn't mean that you have to be disagreeable. And those are the kinds of things that we keep seeing over and again. Me as a journalist is something that really grieves my heart for the profession, as someone who still teaches journalism and really values the profession and the impact that it has and how important it is to a democratic society, is that we see a lot of just talking heads and a lot of yelling, a lot of my view or no view. If you're against me, if you disagree with me, then you're my enemy. And that's just not realistic. I know oftentimes understanding the media, as I do as a scholar, a studier of the media, I understand that those are the kinds of things that sell, because we're so segmented as a society. You want to be able to talk to a specific audience and get them riled up and coming back often and paying the fees that come along with that, the advertising. But the bottom line is that most of the country is really much more in the middle and much more not so much just lockstep following certain talking points. Most of the country is in the middle with a lot of extremes, a lot of movement going on around in the middle. And most people are navigating their lives on a daily basis, not just identifying who their enemies are, but navigating their lives to try to figure out who can they work with. And people are doing this in their homes. Husbands and wives don't always agree, which it doesn't mean you don't have to be disagreeable. People are, you see this in workplaces. People have to figure out how to work together and work through their differences. You don't have to be on total polar opposites like what we see going on in our political realm. And the thing about it is, as a political expert, that even those folks in Congress or in the state legislature, they know what it is that they're doing, but they're so bent on just maintaining their position, just following the talking points so that they can get the votes. But they know what they are doing, and they know where the country is. And one of the things we try to do with our show is really try to educate people as to what is really going on and give them some perspective and some idea and some sense, arm them with information that they can make better decisions, informed decisions on their own, rather than just overloading themselves with one point of view over and over and over like a hamster on a wheel.
That's right. And, you talk about, individuals knowing that where things are real and those things that are not real. Mm-hmm. But it's the courage to be able to speak up. Now, I've said this before, in working in politics and public policy for really over 20 years, over 2 decades, I found where, first of all, anyone who runs for public office or public service, my hat's off to them, no matter what side you're on, because now you're exposing yourself, to public criticism of people that don't know your journey. They don't know anything about you, but they're slinging mud. They call it mud slinging for a reason. These days, throwing grenades, right? So listen, you got to be fortified to go out there and run for office and to serve, no matter who you are, what side you're on. So I tip my hat to everybody that engages in that type of activity. But at the same time, you have to be able to speak truth to power. You have to be able to, if you don't speak it, you have to be able to exercise it in policy, in your vote, and the like. I think that's what's missing because, of course, there's 3 rules to being a politician. Number 1, win the election. Number 2, stay elected. Number 3, get reelected. So, and that's what I've advised my clients when I've consulted on these campaigns. And if you don't do those 3, you're not an elected official. You become an ex-elected official, which means you sit on that table 3 rows back where they acknowledge you and just wave, but nobody really cares what you're saying. But so I understand how that plays, but still, right now in this climate, the voices that we bring onto the show, the voices that we speak, the topics that we talk about are definitely needed because, it's not about criticism. We're not criticizing. It's about constructively analyzing and giving analysis of what is written, was not written, how it's written, when it's written, and what should we look out for. Because we end every show, you end it, Will, with the line, what should African Americans or people?
That's right. What should we do?
What should we do? So we also look towards solutions because when we talk about African Americans, of course, part of our thought process in creating LaVeist and Claville was this voice was missing from the African American community, African American males, and you talked about that. But at the same time, the knowledge that we have are just not for African Americans. It's not just for African American males, but it's for everyone. I mean, I have colleagues and we have individuals that stream our show across seas. Right. I have white colleagues that, text me or contact me and say, I love your show, this topic, I like what Will LaVeist talked about here and so forth. We have millennials that are listening to the show. We have individuals who are our seniors that are listening to the show. So we know just from what we talked about, and we're going a little bit more in depth about some of the things that we talked about, and at the end where we're looking to go with season 2 and other seasons. But we know from the comments that we received that this is a space that we need.
Yeah, I mean, and we kicked off, unfortunately, having to talk about the George Floyd killing, and now we know it was a murder.
Absolutely.
And the trial that ensued of Derek Chauvin, and it will be other police officers will be coming up. One of my favorite series that we also got into was the Black Tax, where we talked about the different categories in which being Black in America, and in fact being Black in the world, because there's a reality of anti-Blackness that is very real in the world, but in America, what are the extra hurdles that we have to, or extra issues and challenges that we have to deal with just being Black in America that maybe others don't have to face? And we also talked about fatherhood, something that's near and dear to both of us. I've raised sons and a daughter. You've raised sons. I think the ability to be able to chop it up and talk about what that's like, and to be able to actually express the fact that we are in the majority in terms of Black men. The majority of Black men are very much engaged with their children, whether they are married to the mother or not, or in the household or not. Studies have shown that the majority of Black men, compared to other groups of men, are more engaged with their children. But that's not the prevailing narrative that we hear out there. We talked about even the disappointment of having to hear, our first Black president, constantly, drumming that beat. We know, yes, what he experienced with his father being absent was very real. We know that it is very real, that there's a lot of young men and young women growing up without their fathers in their lives. Absolutely. And we pull no punches about that.
That's right.
Those are deadbeat dads. Any dad who has the ability to be in their child's life and makes the choice to not be in their child's life is absolutely a deadbeat. And all they do is create a situation where those children become adults who pass on pain. So we pull no punches about that. So these are the types of things that we've been endeavoring to try to communicate, dispel myths, talk about the disparities that exist in a real way, and do it in a way that people, regardless to where your station is in life, we respect everybody regardless to what their station is in life. We try to communicate these things in a way that helps people, empowers people to be able to make those decisions for their own lives and for the community.
Well, I think that, like you said, that series on Black fatherhood was one that was near and dear to both of our hearts, because like you said, I just celebrated with my family and friends my father's 80th birthday celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a blessing.
Celebrate a father that's been there through thick and thin, from beginning to end. And even when our mother passed away prematurely from sickness while we were still in school, he was there every day, going to work, coming home, picking us up, cooking breakfast, and taking us to church. So it was great to see that, and still have a father who's that old, in his right mind, sharp as a tack, remembers dates, places, things, just like it was yesterday. Even when he was, I'm serious, even when he was
telling you stories about when you was a kid and cutting up and so forth. Yeah, man,
absolutely. I mean, telling stories from 75 years ago. I mean, just like it was yesterday. But of course, with 80 comes a few challenges, so he gets around with a cane now, but still gets around. So listen, he prayed that prayer. Lord, give me what you promised, 70, and then more, and then some more. So God blessed him with that. And look, I'll say my prayer is, Lord, let me the same, but even longer. And as we say in the church, if the Lord will, if the Lord tarry.
Amen.
But I want to be able to do three things. I want to be able to know who I am. I want to be able to know who I'm talking to is, and I also want to be able to get to the bathroom on my own.
It helps. It helps. Yeah, it helps to have the resources to be able to call the shots on all. That's another thing, man. Very much, the importance of building wealth, the importance of finishing well, and passing down a legacy. And clearly,
absolutely,
your dad has done that with you and your children, and my father and my mother, did that as well. And your mom did it as well. She is still very much in you. Her DNA is there, and she birthed you.
Yeah.
And so,
and also teachings and many.
That's right. That's right, man. So these things, man. To have parents who, are a blessing, were engaged and involved, they make a difference. And these are the types of things that we've tried to talk about, try to communicate. The importance of education, the importance of being a lifelong learner. I was thinking back on when we talked about the black tax and higher ed, and how things that we have to face, having obtained doctorates. Now all of a sudden, you're thinking folks will say, "Hey, man, I'm proud of you," and they do. But then we also have gotten the hate of, well, now I got to call you doctor now, or these kinds of jealousies and I'm like, wow, man, this is what I thought we were supposed to do.
Right.
Would it have been better if I had caught a case and ended up, going upstate and then ended up going on vacation? Or would it have been better if I had, just been strung out on drugs or given up or something like that? One of the things that really drove me to pursue my doctorate in education was coming up out of a tough neighborhood like Brownsville in Brooklyn, New York, one of the toughest, one of the worst neighborhoods in all of New York. And thinking about so many of my friends who did not make it because they were murdered or killed, or did not have the kind of parents who stressed the importance of education, amidst the dysfunction, because my household was not problem free, but I thought a lot of times about those brothers, those close friends, man, that motivated me, because I said, man, I have the ability to go forward and do this. Some of them were taken out early. Having this blessing from God to be able to pursue higher education, in a sense, I owe it to them who were not able to pursue it, to go and do it, to be able to say, hey, we are value. We do matter. And your life still matters, and tell their story. And so, when people have come at us about, as if somehow expecting that now you have a doctorate and now you're going to behave in some kind of pompous kind of way, it's unfortunate, but it's not something that I've ever allowed, people to undermine and make me feel self-conscious about the fact that I was able to strive and go through the rigors of getting, of doing what it takes to get a doctorate. Man. And the same goes for yourself. These things that we've been able to do are not easy, and it's taking, a lot of people who have helped us along the way and who have motivated us along the way. And so none of us is here by themselves.
Absolutely. And Will, you also talked about the Black Tax series, and that's something that we felt that we really needed to address. You just talked about the higher education piece. We talked about higher education and education from different perspectives, both obtaining and then after you obtain, then in higher education, and how we navigate that. Right. We also talked about the Black tax, the Black middle class, and talked about how, it's different, and extra. And when we talk about Black tax, there's an extra tax or extra challenges that are added over that you don't get compensated for, but it adds to your weight, your additional weight. So these are all things that I think, again, was missing from the talks, that's out there. And we were enough to bring it in, but we're going to do even more of that in season 2. But the other series that we mentioned was, again, the Justice for George Floyd series, where we talked about the entire incident from a historical standpoint, present time, the trial itself, and then, of course, we ended it with, the actual sentencing. And
right, 22.5 years, yes. Yeah.
What to look for in 15 years, what's coming up. Keep in mind, that date is on the calendar, not only for the families, both families, the prosecution and the defense, but it's also on the calendar of all journalists. So they're going to be covering that because that was a life-changing moment. And again, a moment that created a movement.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's key. The social justice movement by the killing of George Floyd, which we do now know is a murder due to the conviction, created a movement that is not going to stop. And we're going to see what direction it goes in. Of course, with every movement, it starts together, but then, of course, it splinters, but then it comes back together, galvanizing on the one main voice, as the Civil Rights Movement did, galvanizing around the voice and the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. But the other series that we discussed, which I think was key, which also involved your brother, Dr. Thomas LaVeist, who's the dean of the School of Public Health at Tulane University. We addressed COVID. We addressed COVID from many different areas, angles. We addressed the pandemic. But having your brother there, who serves on the task force for COVID-19 or the coronavirus
down in Louisiana, the state task force, right, right in the midst of it, of one of the areas. I mean, that's your home state that has had tremendous problems with the spread of the virus, with still having challenges with people getting vaccinated, and again, that's one of the key problems. I mean, as that story emerged, we saw how our folk, Black and brown people, would be disproportionately taken out by the virus. And then we still see challenges with Black people getting vaccinated. And a lot of this has to do with, again, misinformation, targeting the community. A lot of the anti-vaxxers, a lot of the people who are spreading, rumors and conspiracies and the like. And again, I have respect for people who are informed and make an informed decision about, okay, I don't want to get the vaccine because I want to wait. I'm not a first adopter, so forth. I understand that people are making an informed decision with an understanding of the vaccine. But you have people who are making decisions. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. It's too fast. I don't believe in getting the vaccine in order to getting the virus in me in order to stop from getting the virus. Well, if you were informed, you would know that the vaccine does not give you the virus the way that it's constructed. That's not the case. And that's one of the things that just really grades at me, because I think about one of my heroes, Carter G. Woodson.
Oh yeah.
Who, scholar, educated, but stressed the importance of being an autodidactic, to being a self-learner. And he had great respect and understanding of the scientific method and how to do research and how to get legitimate information and legitimate sources. But you have this movement that's out here now among people who they don't want to respect education, don't want to respect formal education. They attack it as if, you're just all part of the system, and there's this high level of distrust. So they go and they search the internet and go get their own information, and a lot of times they're getting the information from illegitimate sources. Getting information from somebody that has doctor on their name, but they're not an epidemiologist. They're, a nutritionist or, or a podiatrist. But they're espousing information about epidemiology or information. I mean, it's like, and oftentimes it is our people who are targeted with this kind of misinformation. And then of course you got the Russians who are targeting us as a nation with disinformation to create disruption, dissension, have us attacking each other. And like Malcolm X said, we're being, bamboozled, led astray, hoodwinked.
That's right.
And, these things, these are the kinds of things that we've been trying to address, with the show as well.
Absolutely. And Will, we've been doing just that. And every time we start to have these great conversations, we run out of time. But you're in luck. If you're watching, tune in for season 2 as we bring you more in-depth, thought-provoking discussions on issues that are affecting you in your everyday life. Also, we plan to introduce new guests as we introduce our book series and other individuals that are coming on to discuss various aspects of their research and their experiences and why they decided to publish their writing. So before we leave, I would like to thank the man behind the scenes.
The man behind the scenes. Ben in the dark web. The dark web.
Absolutely. Well, Ben Bailey is our producer.
That's right.
And Ben Bailey, who of Greenwood and Seneca Media Company, he's the one that you see our production. He's the one that does all of it. Only thing Will and I do is talk. That's it. Ben Bailey does everything else. So we want to give a major shout out to Ben Bailey, who works behind the scenes tirelessly, making sure that we sound the way we sound and we look the way we look, and get the information that impacts your life. So again, not just Ben Bailey, not just Will LaVeist, but we like to thank the most important people, and that's you, the viewer, the subscriber. Without you, it wouldn't be any LaVeist and Claville. So we want to thank you again for your support for season 1. But again, stay tuned for season 2. And like always, continue to follow us, like and share, and subscribe to our Facebook and other social media.
Yeah, and tell us what you want us to cover as well. Give us some ideas of what the things that you want to hear about. We'll be glad to explore.
Absolutely. And we love constructive comments and also your compliments. So that gives us encouragement. Right. So again, this ends season 1. Will, it's been great having a conversation with you, meeting you here every Monday and Wednesday. And look, we look forward for season 2. Absolutely, my brother. Bless you as well. So to all our subscribers, to all of our supporters, thank you again for your support, because to us, it's like that, and that's the way it is. We'll see you for season 2.